So what we want to do today is, the presentation is about our flagship product, Rovius, in the cloud world, and we will talk more about that. But since we're slightly a different company from a traditional Bay Area company, which are traditionally most Bay Area companies our size are a single product company. They have one thing that they do. We tend to do more than one thing. We're a portfolio company. We have a portfolio of products to the enterprise. So what I want to do first is sort of quickly take a few minutes to introduce Accelerite, what else we do other than cloud, talk to you a little bit about that, to give you a context as to who we are. Then we will jump right into the cloud presentation. We call ourselves Connected Product for the Digital Enterprise. Before we get into what we do, just a quick introduction. So Accelerite is the products arm of Persistent Systems. Persistent Systems is a publicly traded company, largely a services brand, serving enterprises towards digital transformation. So we are a product company, and we do very little services. We partner with others in order to do services. But our goal is to be a digital transformation infrastructure company, where we do products in order to help people transform themselves digitally. That is a quick introduction to Persistent, our parent. 26 years in existence, lots of customers, publicly traded, about $450 million in a year in run rate. That's who Persistent is. And Accelerite as the product arm, the product subsidiary. So we are, this is our customer base. We also have a very global customers. Most of our customers are either sort of global 1,000 customers or large telcos. So that's we have customers in pretty much every imaginable vertical, public sector, finance, retail, transportation. So that's a quick overview of who our customers are. And what we do, this is perhaps a more interesting thing. So we believe, what we are trying to do is create a platform that we believe an enterprise needs to transform themselves digitally. If you just look at, 10 years ago, the top companies in NASDAQ, one of them was a tech company and 4 of them was a traditional brick and mortar company. Today, all top 5 are tech companies, and they're challenging the brick and mortar companies in every traditional business. And I think you've all heard enough about digital transformation, what is happening in the world, et cetera. What I really want to talk about today is what is fundamentally different from the tech companies, from your traditional companies. We believe in the technology stack and the people that use the technology stack. They believe in empowering the people who are changing them and giving them tools and platforms needed to transform themselves digitally. And we believe this is sort of the stack of things that at least we are working on. There are more things you need, of course, but these are the set of things we're working on that enable the digital transformation of an enterprise. At the base of everything, we believe in transforming any enterprise digitally is a hybrid cloud. So you got to have seemingly infinite resources in order to be able to do your things. You shouldn't be limited by, I need to run this test and let me call IT and get a VM, fill a form. This still happens in most banks, a lot of traditional enterprises. And we truly believe that in order to do any digital transformation, the underlying layer, as you all can attest to this, is the cloud. You got to have something where I, as a developer, can go provision something myself, get data, get any infrastructure that I want in order to go do my work. The next layer above is analytics. Now, every single company that we come across today is storing increasingly large amounts of data. Used to be traditional data. I had databases, I had transaction databases, I was doing business intelligence to get some intelligence out of it. More and more customers are stopping that. They're continuing to do that, but the amount of data they're storing is far, far more than what traditionally was there. They are now storing events data from websites. They're storing email campaigns that are going out. They're collecting data from actual devices that are being sold. What used to be gigabytes of data is now terabytes, if not hundreds of terabytes of data that are being stored. And it is impossible to structure them and store them with structured data costs. People are increasingly storing them in data lakes, Hadoop, whatever you want to call it, in the source form. And these are being transformed into on-demand data structures from which they derive value out of. And we think that storing seemingly infinite amounts of data and being able to get insights out of that in a dynamic way is the next step just above the cloud in a digital transformation stack. And increasingly, whenever you're doing anything today, connected devices are in play. It could be a factory where they're trying to compare production lines to see why is one production line more efficient than the other. It could be people, insurance companies trying to get live data from cars in order to evaluate the risks of drivers and package several insurance products together. Whatever it is, pick anything in the world today, lot of use cases around connected devices and getting value out of connected devices and rolling out values based on those data captured from connected devices. So we think bringing connected things to life, that is another core value of a digital transformation infrastructure, and we do something there as well. And finally, security is obviously a huge piece. Securing data is the most important above everything else. Whatever you have, whatever you use, if you're giving that data away to hackers for free, that's a problem. So security. So those are sort of the 4 things we touch. Clearly, you guys can point to 10 other things you need in a digital transformation stack, but we are focused on these 4. But we are an acquisitive company, so we do look for acquisitions. We add more products, or we build more products to add to the portfolio, and our portfolio keeps evolving. Please.
Do you have a sense of is acquisitions your primary mode of bringing on these different products, or are you going to, with the history you have as part of Persistent Systems of writing your own products, and then can you just have a quick chat about buying products? Obviously, has a big issue in integrating them all. How do you handle that?
Very good question. 3 of these products came out of an acquisition. These are not the products we acquired. Our acquisition has been targeted in one angle primarily, which is we try to buy undervalued, but potentially where there is an adjacency we can step into and grow fast. We look for those products from large ISVs. To give you an example, this product was born out of an HP acquisition we did called Client Automation Enterprise. We bought a client automation product, this one, and pivoted that into endpoint security. This came out of a cloud platform acquisition we did from Citrix, largely a public cloud platform for regional public clouds. We didn't think that was such a growing market, but we are pivoting that into private clouds and using the public cloud customers to resell that perhaps into their world. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So everything we do, this one is fully homegrown. We built this in-house because we saw a need in the market. There was nothing available, too hot a space to do any acquisition. No one had failed yet in the Hadoop world who had enough customers for us to go acquire. So, so that one we built in-house. It took us 3 years to build it, but we're very proud of what we built. This one came out of an acquisition we did from Intel. We did an acquisition called Epona, and we pivoted that into IoT, sort of continuing the journey that Intel was already going through. Intel had bought Epona, and they were already converting that into an IoT platform. We continued the journey down that path. So most of the things we are interested in doing, we look for an adjacency to that has a common customer base with what we want to do. We try to acquire that and pivot that into what we want it to be. So that is our traditional acquisition.
So basically, you're the home for when all these large vendors get a rush of blood to the head and decide to acquire something and it doesn't work out like Cloud.com or whatever. You take advantage of those distressed assets?
Yes. We wait for a few years.
Because you mentioned, you used the word failed. You said, products that have actually failed. So you're not necessarily picking up products on the up and up, but something like a cloud platform, which you saw it working in as they were incorrectly
as a product, but not as a business.
As a business, yes. We look for products which have acquired enough customers to prove that the product is great, but has not acquired enough customers that it is going to be 20x revenue to buy. So that's our sweet spot. Products that work, but not businesses that work. So we think we can create a business that works out of products. And typically, the original product itself is hard to make succeed. So that is why we typically invest for a year and a half, to pivot into an adjacency that we believe can grow, such as public cloud infrastructure to private cloud infrastructure, or endpoint management of PCs to endpoint protection of PCs. So we try to pivot to an adjacency, but with the same underlying platform. So that's a sort of quick overview of what Accelerite is. We're going to talk a whole lot about Rovius, so I'm going to skip over that for a second and go into this, our Shared Insights platform, which is the analytics platform. Again, as I was quickly talking about, people are storing increasing amounts of data in their native form now. And the challenge today in Hadoop, I saw some report that more money has been spent on Hadoop, deploying Hadoop, than value that has been derived out of deploying Hadoop. Hadoop turns out to be a pretty hard platform to get value out of. There are a new set of players who are trying to unlock the value in Hadoop, right? The traditional BI world, you used to do ETL followed by OLAP followed by visualization. There are people who are trying to do something very similar in the Hadoop world. What we believe is allowing the data scientist to be self-sufficient instead of having to go jump through hoops in order to do anything. So we have created a self-service platform where a data analyst can sit down, do the data pipeline creation, do the machine learning, do the OLAP, do the visualization, all in a single tool without having to go and call anybody. So that's Shared Insights. We're doing really well with the product. We're acquiring customers at a very fast tick. If anybody wants to get more details about that, we can set up a separate session to talk about that. Concert is our IoT platform. I'll talk about that in a little more detail. So we have taken a slightly different approach towards IoT than most of the traditional vendors in the space. So if you look at the space today, there are full stack platform vendors like Predix and GE and C3 IoT who are trying to do everything themselves. And there are guys like Amazon, Azure, Bluemix, et cetera, who have taken a PaaS approach by giving you the tool set so that you can do something on your own as a developer. We're sort of bridging the gap between where the PaaSes stop and where the platforms end. So we layer on top of the PaaSes of the world. We hook on top of Azure IoT, Bluemix IoT. So we take advantage of the plumbing for IoT those guys have created, but we bring in the tooling you need in order to make those a codeless or low-code application creation platform. There are three things we do. Springboard is a component which allows you to create a full-fledged application for IoT without having to write code. You could model devices, you can model the events, you can model storage, you can ingest data, you can do workflows based on what happens, et cetera. Our Insights platform, the Shared Insights platform, is actually embedded inside Concert as Concert Insights. Allows you to create learning models from streaming data and be able to get value out of that. And finally, we also allow you to create, once you have data that makes sense, you can create a marketplace of data or marketplace of APIs, expose it to partners, and make money out of that. So those are, at a very high level, three components of what Concert does. So that's our IoT platform. And finally, Sentient is a security platform that gives you real-time visibility into anything you have. You could be sitting here, connecting to 1 million connected devices, connecting to every single cloud asset you have, connecting to all the endpoints, and find out where all WannaCry is a vulnerability. You could create a query, you can go run it, it'll go to these million devices, bring you back answers in 15, 20 seconds. You can create remediation scripts, go and remediate it. So it could be a variety of IT use cases, could be a variety of security use cases, but that's Sentient at a very high level. So before I switch to, now you asked, you guys are doing acquisitions, and that's how you get into these spaces. So clearly our Rovius product line comes out of an acquisition we did from cloud platform, Citrix. And what we have done since the acquisition is first sort of stabilize the cloud stack environment. Citrix had begun to ignore it a little bit, and the community was sliding down a little bit. So we've done a variety of things to stabilize the core. We added about, we doubled the engineering team. We have about 83 engineers now developing code in Cloud Stack and contributing. So there's a significant chunk. The overall contributions to Cloud Stack are now up by 30% from before we acquired to now. So and we have done a bunch of stuff to Cloud Stack which make it really very good now. So we support bare metal orchestration now, which we contributed. We added a service orchestration layer, which we are using today in Rovius to create new services for customers and roll it out very dynamically, and we'll talk about that. We have a Kubernetes cluster orchestration that we contributed to. And the one that we're really proud of, we now allow hot upgrades in Cloud Stack. In other words, you could have a Cloud Stack cloud running, and you could upgrade Cloud Stack, and none of your workloads would know. We take the VR, we automatically, come up with a shadow VR, we switch the routes to the other one. A whole bunch of things we did where now you could upgrade a cloud from one version to the other with absolutely no downtime. So these are, it's been about a year now since we acquired the product line, maybe a year and a couple of months. So these are 4 significant contributions we did. We have probably put in 400, 500 bug fixes into the, so significant contributions that we are doing to Cloud Stack as a core, because a lot of stuff we do in the cloud is powered by Cloud Stack.
On the community stuff, clearly there's a huge history with Cloud Stack, and most people agreed that it was a better product than OpenStack, but had less momentum, especially later on as OpenStack got huge funding, or the OpenStack distros. Little bit of an update about where Cloud Stack as an initiative and as a community is.
So as I said, we've grown the contributors to by 43. That was an hour power, easy to do. So we did that. The original people who were contributing continue to contribute. The Nuage guys still contributing. Storage, SolidFire still contributing. We added a few partners into the mix. Datera is now a partner who's contributing storage layers now, and they're actually a partner of ours. So we've added like maybe 4 or 5 new partners into the ecosystem. So definitely the base has grown. It's not nowhere close to OpenStack's extent. I believe infrastructure as a service as a problem is solved. We don't think we need to tweak CloudStack a whole lot. We think CloudStack is a terrific, stable infrastructure as a service platform for us to build on top of. And Rovius is a layer that we've added on top. We continue to contribute all the IaaS stuff that we do in, but we think the challenges are outside IaaS and how to make an enterprise, consumability of IaaS inside an enterprise is a bigger challenge than the core itself.
So I'm not sure if this is what Ben was asking about, but aside from the activity that you've done, what have been the results or the outcomes that you've been finding in terms of the CloudStack adoption, the growth, how it's being used?
Honestly,
because it's one thing to talk. It's one thing to talk about. Okay, we're turning the crank. We're spinning the wheel. Okay, that's great.
So
but are you getting it?
So
are you
what?
getting anywhere?
It's a very good question. So to give you an answer, I don't believe, and I'm an honest guy, I'm just going to tell you the way I see it. I don't think CloudStack adoption is any better than what it was when we acquired. We have not been able to change anything there.
Okay.
But we are not marketing CloudStack. We are not here to push CloudStack versus OpenStack. I think that battle is dead. OpenStack is a far larger community. We believe CloudStack is a more stable product. We are building our product on CloudStack as a core. When we believe OpenStack is a better core to build on, we will be happy to switch to that. We are trying to solve customer problems with CloudStack as a core because we think CloudStack is a great core to use to solve customer problems. When we believe OpenStack is a far better problem, it will switch. We are not religious. We're not here to fight the OpenStack versus CloudStack battle. CloudStack. We like OpenStack. You go to OpenStack and look at the membership, we are the first one on the list. We did a disaster recovery project for OpenStack for the longest time. Couldn't get enough adoption before we switched out. So we are big believers in open source clouds. We are on the CloudStack world today. We continue to dabble in OpenStack. And when we see the stability switching, and when OpenStack becomes a more stable platform, we're absolutely not religious, and we'll be happy to go the OpenStack route as well. Hopefully that answers the question.
I think that is actually an interesting point, because OpenStack has obviously got a huge amount of the public sort of know-how and knowledge about it, but in effect it hasn't really worked out because it's been too complicated. So have you picked CloudStack as a tactical solution to be able to get a simple, better product, IaaS Cloud, up and running, but then you're going to see future cloud things being AWS as an IaaS Cloud, or Azure as an IaaS Cloud, OpenStack as an IaaS Cloud, CloudStack as an IaaS Cloud, and your orchestration is all above that, so really you don't care.
We don't care. That is correct. So we want to solve the customer's problem.
I mean, that's
really what we're about.
I suppose, coming back to it, that's a decent amount of money to buy CloudStack if it's just a commodity service that you are using for convenience. Why not go with OpenStack initially?
So we acquired customers. We acquired customers. That is the key. See, the key is, in any of these acquisitions we do, it is not the technology. In fact, here, it's open source technology. We could have just built it right there. But we acquired 200 enterprise customers and 25, 30 public cloud customers, to whom now we can go position Rovius, right? All of our acquisitions are seldom about how viable the technology itself is. I mean, we'll definitely look for viable technology, but we have great confidence that we can build the technology needed. But acquiring customers, though, it would have taken far more to acquire 200 enterprise customers and 25 public cloud customers for me than what I paid to buy cloud platform. So that is the key. Our acquisitions are about getting market momentum, less about technology acquisitions, because we have great confidence in building technology.